Good afternoon and welcome to Women Speaking. I'm Caroline Ayot, your host. We have an engaging discussion lined up on the topic that is critical to the representation of women and marginalized groups in Parliament: the nomination of members of Parliament and the role of affirmative action seats. Uganda's constitution provides for affirmative action seats to ensure that women, youth, persons with disabilities, and other marginalized groups have a voice in legislative processes. Yet, debates continue on how effective these seats are in promoting true participation and influence in decision-making. Today, we will unpack these issues with our esteemed panelists and explore both the achievements and challenges of this system. I'll start introducing my panelists from my extreme left coming in. In the house, we have Natasha Ampumuza. She's a young lawyer. Natasha, welcome to the Women's Show.
Thank you so much.
And then we have Honorable Matembe, our senior citizen, child of God, and the voice of reason. Honorable, welcome to the Women's Show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, to get us started on this conversation, Natasha, can you briefly explain what affirmative action seats are for the benefit of our viewers and why they were included in Uganda's political framework?
Thank you so much. Well, when we start with defining what affirmative actions are and why they're important, we look at these as deliberate actions and initiatives taken in favor of marginalized groups, women, the disabled, the children, for bringing them on board. So they were brought up mainly because in a time and in very many seasons that passed before, the people, the women, the children were not given, and the disabled people were not given a platform. So it was more patriarchal in nature, that men were the ones leading and doing most of the things. However, with these affirmative action seats that have been put in place, women have been fully involved in active decision making in this nation, and we can see that in various seats and places. Yeah.
Yes. So, what legal provisions in the Ugandan Constitution do we have for affirmative action seats? And also, I would like you to maybe talk about the youth seats as well and how they come into play in terms of affirmative action.
Yes, Article 32 of our Constitution provides for that right to equality and freedom from discrimination. It brings out the element that Parliament was given a mandate to enact such laws necessary for implementing these policies, to go away with any kind of discrimination, to go away with any kind of looking down on certain categories of people. And so through the Constitution, we also see in the Local Governments Act on how women, like there is that involvement and inclusivity of the women at every level, to ensure that they are represented. And when we are to look at the role and how that has played, is that people have been able to speak out, these marginalized groups which seem not to be really represented through the leaders that have been on board. There's been improvement. There has been proper representation in the Parliament of Uganda and in very many other spaces.
Yes, thank you so much, Natasha. I will come to Honorable Miria. Are women MPs and affirmative action seats able to influence legislation?
I'm not going to jump on that answer because I want to, I'm one of those people who made the Constitution of Uganda, and therefore I want to expound on what she was saying, which is very right. That one of the principles on which that Constitution was based is equality. Equality, justice, and fairness. And before that Constitution was made, like he was talking of marginalized groups, women were not considered as full human beings in their own right. Young people, no authority, no power. People with a disability completely rejected and none, like as if they were non-existent. And yet, we wanted a country which was for the good of everybody. And this country was going to choose its own leaders. And leaders are those people who take decisions that govern the nation. And certainly, when you get leaders, politicians, and those in governance who are only men, and moreover, not only just men, but only the elderly and old men, leaving out the mind of the women, leaving out the mind of the young people, leaving out the mind of the people with disability. It means that the decisions which are made are completely unfair and unjust, because, as we say in our language, I think I will put it in English, that the one who wears the shoe is the one who knows where it pinches most. Okay? The one who wears the shoe is the one who knows where it pinches most. In fact, when we are discussing this issue of affirmative action, especially with women, men have never become pregnant. They don't know what it means to how you suffer with a pregnancy. They don't know the pain of pushing out a baby. They don't know the breastfeeding. They don't know anything to do with that. In other words, by the way, men don't know humanity, I'm telling you. They are like mechanical people. When it comes to human being and emotions, it is all to do with women. And then you find there are men there, they are the ones in parliament, they are the ones, Ministry of Health, everywhere, making decisions to affect people in the areas which they don't even know how they are affected. You see? So that means they will just make decisions the way they feel without the mind of that one who goes through that situation. If I go through the situation of bearing children, for instance, one time when I went to Rira during the constitutional making process, I found in Rira maternity ward, of course those days everything was broken, there was nothing. I was passing by, I think is it my sister, my late sister, Beto Quill, the former deputy speaker. She said, Miria, come and visit our hospital. And I went to maternity ward. And I found a woman who was on a metal, on a bed, this metal or something. There were no curtains in the window. She was there in labor pain. And everybody was looking at her in the window while she's pushing, struggling with the pain in a cold room. And I saw it, I said, my goodness, because I have ever had children, I know what it meant. When I came back, before I came, immediately I went, I bought, what do they call it? The bed, the thing you put on the bed for, it is a plastic sort of...
Like Macintosh, is that what they call?
Mat, like a mattress with this plastic thing. Before I left Rira, I went and bought it. I bought a curtain in the window. And I came back to Kampala and I told Action for Development. I said, you people, we have formed this organization, Action for Development. We must, you don't know what is happening. Mark here, I had never gone to Mbarara to see what was happening. But because I saw what was happening in Rira, I mobilized and we got resources and we bought beds, maternal beds, and we bought, and I remember when we took those beds with the members of parliament, the Omara Tubo, Ben Wacha, we carried all these things because we mobilized, got beds from abroad, and we went to fill that hospital. And in that place, by the way, there is a baby called Miria Matembe. Miria. But when Okwi died, I lost out on that baby. Because when we were delivering our things, moreover with the nurses' uniform, we equipped everything. And I found a lady who was delivering and the baby was called Miria. Nice. So why am I explaining this? You think if I had never gone through labor pain, you think a man would have felt it that way? You would say, oh, but this woman, why is she just naked like that? So, my dear, it was very important. That's why, in fact, in Beijing, when we went to Beijing, Uganda really made a lot of influence on the Beijing conference, because we had been in NRM for 10 years and we had come on the public platform and we were really very serious. And so that's why we came out with a book which came out from Beijing. I remember I was asked even to be one of the plenary presenters, plenary session presenter, and my topic was the strategies to increase women's participation in politics and governance. And the book was entitled Looking at the World Through the Women's Eyes. If the world is looked at from one angle, the women's eyes look at it different. You remember when God created man, he saw he was not complete. There was something missing. And therefore, when they are making these decisions, when we are not there, they are not complete decisions for the good and protection of humanity. The same as the young people, they have their own feeling. They should give an opportunity also to express themselves in decision making, to put their views, and people with disability. So it was a great step forward to make sure that you put this affirmative action. But as you know, affirmative action is not meant to be permanent. If what it had wanted to correct has now stopped, then it can change. It was supposed to be reviewed. And actually, we even put affirmative action at the university. It was me and Ackford and the University Women's Association. We secured 1.5 to be added on to women. The girl child, because the girl child was discriminated when it came to education and every area, hard working and occupied with work and so on, and then she would get 2 points. We said as long as the pass mark was 2 principles, minimum 2 principles, the moment the girl gets 2 principles, she has passed to go to university. Then add 1.5 to make up the discrimination she has been having during, we were making these laws from our own experience. Because my own experience was very clear. There was discrimination against my boys. My brothers get school fees. I spend 2 months without being in school. And then even when I'm in school, my mother goes to hospital, then I'm keeping the babies. All that period of discrimination. And yet I managed to get what? To get 2 points. Then I should be compensated for that time I was marginalized. That's how we brought it in. People these days, they are enjoying our efforts. They don't even understand. They are even challenging them. No. But as I say, as far as the university is concerned now, the way the women have really flew, I don't know the word to use. They have flown up. They have beaten, even gone beyond men. The kind of affirmative action now should change, if you ask me. The kind of affirmative action for the university institutions should now look at the poor people. It should leave now these women as such, but although if it takes poor people, they will be taking also some women and men. Those who can't afford school fees, who've been suffering, but they even study in very poor schools, and yet they get the required pass mark. So it should not be static. It should not be. So even if, for instance, if you bring it now to the woman's seat, it has become meaningless. But maybe you'll ask and we discuss this issue.
Yes, what I had asked you was whether the woman affirmative action seat is effective and whether they influence laws in the same way men in parliament do.
Well, who tells you that men in parliament influence laws? Laws are now dictated upon. But if I were to speak, do you think, here I am, I went to parliament on affirmative action, and I'm telling you the extent to which we influenced the direction. Okay?
Yes.
So it does not matter. It does not mean that it is the affirmative seat which is not influential. Why we wanted women's participation in public, we wanted them to participate, such a kind of effective participation that is capable of influencing the governance agenda and make it responsive to their interests. The same as people with disability, the same as young people. that you participate in such a way that you make a decision that will influence the governance agenda. For instance, I want to tell you, when we were in the constitution making, we were, I think, 39 women. We joined with the army. Army was affirmative action, the youth, the people with disability. We made up 74 of us out of 210. And I can assure you, we, in our group, we made sure that we influenced the constitution in such a way that it had provisions which were for equality for all of us. Because even the environment was conducive. What I want you what I want us to look at in this place, don't look at women being unable to influence. Don't look at what are the men doing. Are they influencing the governance agenda? Because the political environment in which we are operating was so free, was equal, was conducive to us to speak with freedom, to assert ourselves, and we made so many changes I cannot tell you. Because if it comes, the only thing which we have failed to achieve as women in that parliament, the major one, is in terms of discrimination, is the one of marriage, the law of marriage and divorce. But as you know, we managed to bring the law of this gender mutilation. We used to talk about the law, even land we did some extent, and then the law against selling people, what is it called?
Human trafficking?
Yes, human trafficking. We did a lot there. I can't remember all these laws. But when we were effectively participating, we really did a lot. But right now as we talk, first of all, the members of parliament, and this has been brought by what I call the spirit arrivalism and what do you call it? Where you arrive and you are complacency. I mean, you have reached. The women in this country whom you see, even those who contest, they don't even know why the woman's seat was brought. Because they even complain. Why? Why should me now take a larger area than the man's area? That's nonsense. It means they don't even understand the whole thing, why affirmative action seat was brought. Because, for instance, I will keep giving my example. All the seats in Mbarara, we had 10 counties. All those 10 counties, every man and woman were allowed. I mean, they were, what is the word? Accessible. Anybody, whether man or woman, could contest for those seats. But because the situation was such that the society could not see women in politics, they put that affirmative action. They said at least one seat for a woman. Only a woman will contest for it. And that's where they said district woman's representative. The law was not preventing the women from contesting any other seat. And the reason why this affirmative action was brought, which people don't know, the current ones now, was that when you elect women in parliament, when that woman goes there, if it is one or maybe opportunity brings two, then they will go there and participate in such a way that people who elected them would see, hey, so women are also capable of doing that. And the result of that would be that more women would offer themselves as candidates in politics. And again, the public, the electorate, would have seen how women are doing well and would also elect women. So the other seat was not for testing that you go there, you work, then you get off, then another woman comes. If I give you a successful example of the realization objective of that seat, of its purpose, was in Mbarara. The moment I went there and I was so vibrant and I talked and everybody could see, this is too good. Women can also make it. The next round of elections, When Byanyima came, and I remained on my seat, when Byanyima came and won the seat in municipality in Barara. So two of us went now. The next time around, Mary Mujeni won the seat in Chiruhura and we became free. You see, without leaving my seat, we had become free. So I don't even agree with these people who say you should get off and other people go there. Let them go on the other seat. If I have done so well, let them go on the other seat. The main challenge now is that women stopped doing as well as we did, so that now they are confined to just one seat. Because I think the affirmative action which was there, that increasing, like I told you, opening the electorate and opening the women to go and contest on other seats, now it closed again. And I think even the direct seats could even be maybe 16. It could be 16 instead of being much more. So when you remove affirmative action now, it will be like we did nothing. They would remain so few. And yet, these days, why the nature of affirmative action, which we've been pleading for, and the reason for it, is because when I was a member of parliament, mine was 10 counties, it was 49 sub-counties, and I was taking the whole of that area as one person. Now, every county, almost every county is a district. So now, the kind of affirmative action we've been proposing, although they are not looking at it, is two people per district. One man, one woman. If we got that kind of affirmative action in Uganda now, that every district should produce one man, one woman, we would do so well. Because, for instance, let me tell you, now Mbarara has got 7 districts. Imagine, 7 districts. And every district has a woman. A constituency where I was one and I was so impactful and effective has 7 women. And yet if I asked you which woman represents where Miriam Matembe was in Barara, how many of you can even name 2 of them? You can't. So that means actually they increase. If you go to Bushenyi as a county, just as a county, it has got 4 members of parliament. 4! 1 for municipality, 1 woman, and then west and east. 1 county, which used to have 1 member of parliament. It has now 4. And yet the effectiveness is so less, the whole thing is so poor, and yet the payment, and we are getting less money, and now the payment. Imagine 4 people earning all those billions of money with all those vehicles. What is their impact? And yet for us, our impact was felt up to now. So what am I saying? The environment, the political environment right now is not conducive even to anything, I imagine, effective.
Thank you, Honorable Matembe. Natasha, I want to bring you back to the conversation. And now let's talk about the nomination of members of parliament and how marginalized people, marginalized groups are faring, especially the youth, the women, but also persons with disability and older persons. What trends have you observed from the nomination exercise that happened last week?
I think the nomination processes, as we had discussed earlier, have been changing over time. I think now it is more of what you have, what can you offer? Do you have the resources? Now that is a disadvantage to the young people, for example, the youth that we are looking to speak. Now if they do not have some of these resources, some of these things that are needed, they are left
Say
out.
it clearly, if they don't have money to buy voters, why are you hiding things?
So it becomes a challenge that now people's integrity, people's what they stand for is put on
Compromise?
Yes, it's compromised, and then a person cannot be able to lead. You know, and yet there are people with ideas, people that can really do an impactful, work in the country. So majorly when it comes to people with disabilities, the young people realize that resources, mainly, I think that's one of the things that has stood
Yes,
out for?
before we started elections, I know that there were moves to actually lower nomination fees, especially for young people. Okay, for the member of parliament seat, because right now the nomination fee is at 3 million shillings, and the young people were campaigning for such electoral reforms that the nomination fees would be lowered. And now the projected amount of money that people will spend in an electoral cycle in the village, in rural areas, is projected to be 400 million shillings. And in the urban settings is projected to be around 1 billion. So aside from the money, which we know is a big challenge, what other challenges do you think marginalized persons are facing, especially in trying to get to the legislative body and make friendly policies for, their different communities?
I think another issue there would be political settings, that people from certain political parties seem to have more domination than the others. And so if a person would want to maybe stand for a position, they would probably think, where will I get the most supporters? Where will I get? So identity in terms of political spaces is another issue, especially for the young people. But also the fear of, what if I don't make it through? What if, do I have the right, do I know where to go to get what? So that in itself can distort the whole system. The people are not able to lead, are not able to give up what they have and show cause. And yet these are very capable people. So some of those...
How do you suggest that we empower people to actually take up seats, marginalized communities? How do you suggest that can be done?
To improve the society, number one, I think the first that I would look at, which is of course can't be worked on by a person to another, is change of heart, integrity. What do we stand for as people? Do we do what we actually say we should do? If we're in an integral, if it was an integral space and people were able to speak out and do as they're supposed to do, then it would be different. So I would encourage us, number one, to go back to the basics at an individual basis. How do we associate with people? Is there integrity? Is there humility? And also for the young people that maybe and the marginalized people, are there people that are mentoring them, people that are working with them to make them better, to empower them to actually go out for these positions? Like our honorable, she has impacted, but are there people that are being mentored? That when these people are off now, even as the young people can take off these positions with great, with that charisma that we can actually make it. So I would talk about mentorship. That is really important. Mentorship, integrity, and of course all that is packaged with the people that you work with in these political spaces. As the marginalized groups, the women, the youth, can we look out for those people that have impacted the country, and then walk through their footsteps, seek to be mentored by them, and then grow. So I think that is one of the major aspects that would do to bring people on board. Yeah.
If I may come into this matter, for me, I keep emphasizing the whole issue of the political environment. Surely, one wonders whether the political environment in which I, Miriam Matembe, and all our fellow like Akford, Fida, all the women who are very impactful and influential, was such kind of free. It was freedom. Freedom, fairness, justice, and people-centered and service-oriented. That is the kind of political environment we are working in. That the political leaders were driven into the political arena to serve people. The main purpose was serve people, change the situation, make Uganda a good democratic developmental country which would end up with prosperity. And so we all had passion, we wanted to work for the people. If it was women, it was really to make sure that the situation of women improves. That women will get education, that women will study all courses that boys were studying, that women would get into business, that women will also be landowners, it was women improving the situation of women. Is that still the case? No. The young people that time, we put them there, yes, I can't remember how they were operating, but they were also doing well. But I remember the first person to represent people with disability in Parliament, the late Honorable Hamanzi, what was his name? That man from Isinjiro. And he was the only, I think, one representative of disability. Was it like national? I don't know whether they had become 4 yet. But that man worked. Nobody has worked for the youth or even focused on the youth, or I mean on people with disability, as that man. Unfortunately, he died early. It was very unfortunate, very sad. But since then, what has happened is that the seats for marginalized groups are seats for the national resistance movement. They are not seats that are taken by people with passion to work for others. They are seats which are taken by the movement to increase the number of leaders of movement party, and then they are not driven by working for their own people. Not at all. If you look at these workers, do the people really who represent workers in Parliament, have they changed the conditions of workers in this country? What are they talking or handling in relation to these millions of young people who go to be slaves in other countries? What are the workers doing in Parliament to change that situation? Now, what about the young people? Unless you dance with the whatever it is, what are they doing for their young fellows? And even and the women also. Maybe women are even doing a bit better, but they forgot. By the way, I wish women could know. Women did not go to Parliament on a woman's seat. Any woman who is on a woman's seat, her focus was supposed to be the situation of women in the country. That was her focus. For me, these men would say, oh, we bring roads, we bring that. Me, I would be concerned. Are there maternity centers? Is there water near the people? Are there the girls? Are they going to school? Are they being defiled? Are they, what about dowry, which is increasing? What about, then, anything violent, gender-based violence? The 10 men I was working with, they would come and tell me, here there is gender-based. I go and sort it out. And we are working as a team. And they were supporting me while I'm supporting them. But they knew I was central to the changing of the situation of women in their constituencies. If you went to Nyabushozi, you went to Kazo, you went where women were suffering, they will tell you Matembe. Even if you go there now, they will ask, what do you want to do? Can you do what Matembe did? Because I was focused. But now, they are competing with men. The women who are there are competing with men. I'm bringing energy, electricity. I'm bringing what? In the meantime, they are raping the girls. In the meantime, the girls are being, the women, gender-based violence is going on. Instead of focusing on that, you know, for me, when I was in Barara, if a woman quarreled with the husband and said, I'm going to look for Matembe, they would settle it on the table and before, because they were so scared, because Matembe would come, and indeed, I would go there and arrest them and put them in prison. I used to do that because that was my focus. But now they are focused on their allowance, on their salaries, on everything. They are not different from a man who is supposed to deal with the constituency because they don't know it. They have changed the situation anyway. Even the situation of members of parliament itself has changed. They are now the ones who do the work of government. They don't do the work of parliamentarians. They do the work of government. That is the situation. So things are really very serious. And even when you go to these elders, you know, when I went to contest for the position of the elderly, I was seeing on TV, these people, the women are being beaten by their parents. They are thrown off their land. The men, their land is being grabbed. And I was sitting in my house and saying, sure, these old people, who can ever speak for them because they are suffering? And then what happens? I saw that they have allowed the senior citizens to be represented in parliament. They created 5 seats for the elderly people. And among those 5 seats, I found there is one national woman representative for the elderly. I said, God has answered my prayer, because I was wondering who would speak for these people. And I said, this is very good. So I went out to contest as an independent. By the time I went to contest as an independent, I found down the road, they had already chosen, they were choosing through the system 5 LC at village, 5 choose one person, then they got parish. And when I reached there, I found almost all voters were NRM. All of them actually, NRM government. When you go to those who vote for the elderly, you will not find anybody who is not NRM. They were NRM, and I went as independent. And if I had not come, by the way, that woman who has now come and opposed, which is questionable to me, that woman, you wouldn't even know her name. She was from the West, in Kanungu. She's the representative, national woman representative for the elderly. I don't know how many Ugandans even know her name. She has spent 5 years in that parliament. When I came to contest, I had put my program, my agenda. I wanted to go there in that parliament and bring the elderly question on the agenda. I wanted to see the elderly people integrated into the development process. I wanted to see the policies, the programs, the laws that promote the elderly people, because the current people in Uganda here and this nation is standing on the shoulders of those elderly people, the professors, the doctors, the teachers, the whatever, who when they retire, they are just dumped there like garbage. When they fall sick, nobody cares them. They don't have insurance, they don't have all these things. And I had it in my mind that I will go there, and when I reach there, I will influence the situation by tabling the issues that concern the elderly people. When I reached there, they put so many billions of money to buy Matembe out of winning elections. Can you imagine? Who would not have voted Matembe? Which senior elderly person would not have known that I would shout for them? But NRM put there so much money, to the extent that when I was campaigning, when I talked to them, they stood up and gave me a standing ovation because of what I was intending to do. When I went outside, they were paying them, and that one woman won. And now, funny enough, I do not think anybody knows what she did really. Even if you ask us, the elderly, the senior people. Now, the other day, I saw her being returned unopposed to parliament. Now, what I have found out now is that those seats are not even known by the voters. Because how come, if I hadn't gone there, she was from Western region, she would have come unopposed. So 2 of us came from Western region. And this time, none came from any other region, so she came back. So you can see, now tell me, of what value is that person representing the elderly citizens in this country? What is she adding to our lives? No insurance, no nothing. So it is just like that. It is not that I'm demeaning things, but I don't see good coming out of the kind of representation that we had expected out of affirmative action.
Thank you so much.
Just to add something, I think to solve that, as I earlier said, that let's go back to the roots. Why do we do what we do? You know, that then shapes on how we approach some of these things. Because with this service, you can know that, am I doing this for the betterment of the people? Are the people's interests being put at the forefront? We see challenges concerning women at the grassroots, like on ground. What is actually on ground? As Honorable was saying, what is on ground is really different from what is sometimes exposed out through even the members of parliament. And sometimes we are wondering, are people actually being represented? Do we know actually what the challenges? We're having issues where ladies up to now, young girls in villages, are struggling with sexual productive health. You know, you find that in this Uganda at this time, the people, still girls who do not go to school when they're in the menstrual periods because of lack of sanitary towels and all those things. And so you're wondering, how can we better improve?
This is 40 years.
How can we better improve? How can we lead and be integral in everything that we are doing? So that then draws us back to the drawing board. Why do we do what we do? Affirmative action will not necessarily be bad. The framers of the law had the reason as to why they brought it on board. But then when it is misused, people start doubting the reasoning.
The credibility.
Why? Why do we even have to vote for what? And we must acknowledge that there are those women that have brought impact, but there are also those who have used the seats for their personal gains. There are those who are not actually fronting what we need. There are those actually who are not serving with humility. There are those who are not serving with integrity. There are those who have made it for themselves and not for the people. So it's and for the young people, especially us that, you know, growing into politics, you want to, like, how better can we serve people? That's a question that we should.
And you can imagine, if I were to add on this, you remember I used to challenge President Museveni and saying that he thinks we hear that he loves women and supports them, but his previous cabinet, his previous head of governance, they were only men. And I would challenge him, and in order to silence me, this last 5 years, she said, I think she thought, let me silence this Matembe who disturbs me. She made sure that, let me tell you, the first 7 seats of leadership in this country, there are 7. 5 belong to women. Can you imagine? We have a president, 1 man. We have a vice president,
A woman.
we have a prime minister,
A woman.
the first deputy prime minister, the third deputy prime minister,
A woman.
the speaker of parliament.
A woman.
Museveni and Moses Ali are the only 2 men among the highest leadership in this country. Now tell me, you can imagine if we were the people there, the firebrand that we were, what policies and things should be. But now tell me, the more the affirmative action has brought, the less the impact it is revealing. So, political environment. That's why I say, well, affirmative action has been able to bring women. In Uganda, it has become counterproductive because it has come to silence women. Because now we can't talk like, what can I say? Can I now talk against Museveni not liking women? The whole of Uganda is known everywhere that, look, out of 7 people, 5 are women in very strong positions, and yet things are not moving. So we are silenced, you see. We can't now challenge. The women are there. In the cabinet, they are there. Everywhere they are there. So now, what can we question? And at the same time, the movement cannot talk. Because if we talk, you know, those women who are there, they must be silent and follow the system the way it is saying. And then the women in the movement who are supposed to shout and challenge all this are now scared. They fear they can't talk because they will say they hate government. So affirmative action has become counterproductive. It has come out to be against our benefit. At least if we were not there, we would have a platform to shout that we are not there. But now, we are there. Would you shout?
We have quickly come to the end of our conversation. You know, I had questions, but in the middle of it, all of them were answered with the different submissions that were made. So as we come to the end of our conversation, I would like you to give your parting shot, starting with Natasha. Please give your parting shots, any recommendations, or what you think should be done, or any other, you know, submission you may have missed during the course of the conversation.
You forgot opposition.
Thank you.
Unopposed.
I think for me, the parting shots really would be that let's do as we ought to do. Let's be driven by integrity. Not integrity of word, but integrity of action. Let's put people's needs before us. Leadership calls for sacrifice. We do not become leaders to be kings. We become leaders to serve people. From a Christian perspective, we pick an example of Jesus Christ. He was a leader and yet a savior, you know. So let us go back to servant leadership, not by word, but even by action. Let us focus on what matters, and together we can make this country better. Let us serve, let us be present. If you have opportunities, if you stand out for them, be the leaders that you want, the young people, the marginalized groups, in every sector of leadership that you have been, do your best, be diligent with what God has given you, and let us push this country to a better state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Honorable, and maybe you can talk about some of the leaders who have come back and opposed because people do not understand the importance of the seats and all those.
Me, I said the one which they don't seem to understand the nature of the seat is that elderly person. The national woman member of parliament for the elderly. Because I wonder, how come that other women from these other areas are not contesting for that seat? Is it because it is not well known or publicized that it is there? Because that's what I'm imagining. Because even that time, if I had not come on board as an independent, she would have come and opposed. So that one is a challenge if they still need that seat. But for me, I don't see any meaning for the seats for the elderly. I don't see any meaning as long as it is about the NRM only, not about the effectiveness. Do you know that lady who said they defeated me? Somebody who was, what do they call them? Those who used to study that in Samizi as community workers, community development worker. I'm sorry, please don't think I'm proud, but I must say where it is right. I'm not demeaning her, but compared to this Matembe, who had come to contest, speak for the elderly, a lawyer, doctorate of laws, having made a constitution of Uganda, of 20 years in parliament, 2 years in Pan-African parliament, who knows everything. And you say that a community development officer who had studied in Samizi, a college you don't even know, was defeated Matembe. Isn't that nonsense? Let me say it clearly, it's nonsense. And as a result, what came out of it? And now comes back unopposed, as if she was the most effective. You know, to become unopposed, it means you did so well that people think they should not compete against you. Now can somebody come with that kind of posture that it is like that? Because I think people did not understand the seat. Now the rest, they are unopposed, the other people, well, they are very strong people. I mean, why should people, even if I was the one, for instance, if I know how much money somebody has and how much power and authority they have, and I'm just there coming in as a person, and I know that politics in Uganda is about buying, why should I go there and contest with the, for instance, the speaker? Then I power in the little man I have when I know I would be defeated. When I know I would be defeated, I think if they didn't contest, I think they were justified, even with the other side. So they were justified because the situation in Uganda has come that it depends on how much money you have, how much power and authority you have, and how very much you are connected, and you are in the movement. That is what it is all about. And to join what she's saying, me, I want to say that as long as the current government is in power, which has been very, very badly affected by self-centeredness, by selfishness, by the breakdown of ethical values and moral degeneration, characterized by corruption and greed. As long as these things exist, forget about good leadership. I hear them talk of gains. What are they saying? Protecting the gains to step quickly to the third, what is it called? To the medium income country.
Third middle income status.
Middle income status. Where what I see going on, I say, God help us. And therefore, what is my advice? You Ugandans, bow down before God, because the country is for God and my country, and genuinely bow down and pray that wickedness, evil, greed, corruption may be destroyed in this country, that the arm of the Lord may destroy all these things, to create a new political environment where we can talk of good leadership and women's participation, elderly, and the rest. Otherwise, as long as we continue with this government, you are wasting time. But me, I pray that God can intervene and redeem us.
Thank you very much, Honorable Miriam. We have come to the end of our conversation. Thank you very much, Diana, and then Honorable Miriam Matembe, for your insights into this conversation. It's been the Women's Show. My name is Nancy Caroline Ayot. I would also like to thank our behind-the-scenes crew, the studio crew, and all of you for following and for watching the Women's Show. Keep the conversation going. Like, subscribe. Good afternoon.